Hello, citizens of YouTube. This is the Geeky Nerd here, and today we're going to be doing a review on my all-time favorite AK that is unfortunately discontinued, the Arsenal SLR106F. So, before I get started here, I'd like to send a big thank you out to everyone who has liked, commented, and subscribed on the previous videos. I always appreciate it and always enjoy talking to you guys. I really enjoy engaging in the comments and kind of answering your questions and getting your feedback and take on things. And if you're new here to the channel, welcome. If you like this video and like this type of content, please consider liking, commenting, and or subscribing. And with the PR out the way, let's get into it. So, this is my Arsenal SLR106F. I'm just going to be referring it as my Arsenal AK, but you guys know it from there, so we're just going to take that. First thing here, we are going to safety check. Nothing in the mag. Nothing in the chamber. So, as with this AK, we'll kind of start with actually the mag. So, as you see, this does not look like a standard AK mag. It's because it's not a standard AK. This AK is chambered in 5.56, and if I say AK again, please take a shot. But with this being in 5.56, you're getting a few general advantages. One of which you're getting the inherent accuracy that is within the 5.56 223 cartridge, which, as we all know, very accurate out to closer to 500 yards, where the AK round starts kind of losing some of its steam around 300. You can obviously hit farther than that, depending on the barrel length and all that, yada, yada, yada. But generally speaking, 5.56 is going to be inherently a bit more accurate than the 7.62 by 39. So, you're getting that going for it. Second part is ammo prevalence. You are able to find 5.56 a little slightly easier. Now, 7.62 39, you can find that quite often right next to the 5.56. But 5.56 is going to be, at least in the stateside here, is going to be generally more readily available. With that as well, with 5.56, you're going to find it being brass case, which means you can reload it. There's very few 7.62 by 39 ammo manufacturers that make brass case. Privy makes it overseas. They're plenty fine. You can usually find them for the same price of 5.56, but is not readily available on the shelves. If you go into any gun store, you're going to find like Red Army Standard or Wolf or something along those lines, and that's pretty much it for your AK ammo. For your 5.56, you're going to find just a whole host. So, kind of talking about the cartridges just between two, but let's get back to the AK itself. So with this magazine, these are Circle 10 magazines. Now, there's very few AK magazines that will work with this, unfortunately. Circle 10 is the one that ships with. They're the one that's known to be good, and they're bulletproof as bulletproof can be. There is also the FD Rodham Barrel magazine, or Beryl. Beryl, I guess is how you would say it. Magazines, those are 5.56. They will work. Other ones kind of get shoddy here and there. So it's magazine particular. So if you do have one of these, or you're looking to pick up one of these, pick up a minimum, get your standard 3 magazines. And if you get up to 5, try to. Now, they are a bit pricey. These run about $50-$60 depending on what day of the week it is. And for that, though, you're getting a very nice magazine. One thing is that they are actually reinforced along the back and the spine with steel, so they do have steel inserts running down the front and the back. It is a steel base plate, and the follower is anti-tilt. This just happens to be the translucent one. Some of these translucent ones aren't as reliable, durable as the full black ones, and these are also harder to find. This is the one I got with it, thankfully. But you can see there, it does have metal lips in the front and back. It does look like you can see there where I was talking about how they're a little bit prone to cracking. This one hasn't cracked. I've run about, I want to say, north of 1,000 rounds to this. Haven't had any issues. Dropped it again. I'm not one to really be bulletproofing my magazines, smashing them on stones like caveman style, but have run it through spaces and perfectly fine. You see it as a waffle pattern as well, but the polymer that they use for this is quite bulletproof, so no issues there. It is labeled 5.56 by 45, so it's AK there, or nice magazine. They rock and lock just like a standard AK. They are standard fit, nothing too crazy there. Going to the magazine release here, it is just a standard paddle. Just press, release. You can't do the, if I don't fudge it up, you can't do the standard rock and lock as far as being able to strip it there. So Can't do that. No really concerns there. Looking at the magazine well, you see these do come from Arsenal in Bulgaria as is. They are imported from Arsenal USA, but they also come from Kavar as far as a standardized importer. This one has been upgraded because this is my home defense AK, or home defense gun. So here, we'll take it to the front now. It does have the Bulgarian style break, where you can see it does have the one hole and then the two on here. The idea is that when you're shooting, you have a tendency to go up and to the right, so it's going to try to bring you down to center. This does work very well. This entire barrel, as well as this, is chrome lined and cold hammer forged, of course. So the chrome lining in this does make it very easy to come off. It is the 24x1 left-hand threads, so standard AK in that fanfare. The sight block is nice. Now, before I go farther, as far as AKs go, they're never going to be, how would you say, finely tuned and polished as an AR, but the fit and finish of the Arsenals is second to none. If you're looking for a good AK, I would highly, highly recommend any of the Arsenals. If you can buy an Arsenal, I'd say stay away from the Wassers. I know that's just me. I'm sure we're going to catch a lot of flack for that. But as far as my personal preference and what I have seen is the Arsenals hold up dollar per dollar better than any of the majority of the AKs out there. Of course, unless you're doing like a kind of custom build or a Brandon Herrera, the AK guy, AKs, which if he's watching this, hey Brandon, probably not, but hit me up. I really want one of your AKs. Looking down from the sight block, it is perfectly lined up. You do have some AKs to where they are canted and slanted, but this one is straight and true. It does have a cleaning rod. It is retained via the muzzle brake. Going down, you do have a 90-degree gas block. Now, with this gas block, there is sometimes throat erosion with a 45-degree with a standard AK fanfare gas block, so that's why they kind of went to a 90-degree. It prolongs the life of that gas port so it doesn't widen up and give you more gas. This whole AK pattern-wise, as far as the SLR106F, the 107, I believe, as well, this is the 106 and then the 107, and I think they have like the 103. With those, they are standard AKM patterns. So this furniture that you're seeing here is just standard AKM furniture. Moving on down, I do have my Olight PL Pro Valkyrie here. Nice little light. Like being able to use it. Can reach it. Nothing too crazy there. I do have M-Lock. I do have a angled foregrip here, just because with an AK especially, I prefer running a angled foregrip. It just fits my general hand better. I usually tend to just kind of grip here. I tend to kind of wrap my finger around here, and one thing about all my guns is I always love having a shelf in the front. Just keeps your hand from kind of slipping up and hitting the barrel. So kind of like lock my finger in between there and reach over the top, and then if I need my light, I kind of just extend my finger a little bit, hit that light. Of course, it does have single on as well. Moving on down here, we'll flip it on this side. You can see I have my Vickers AK sling. One thing I really like about this Vickers is that it is able to be quick adjusted, so you can just pull this little tab and slide it out. I went with the green motif just to kind of keep the general aesthetics of the rifle. One thing as well that's very nice is some of these AKs, as you could probably see here, I have worn down a bit just from other slings that I've tried to use. It's because with the little metal clip that goes on there, eventually after using it, it will rub away. With this being a coated, braided steel wire, you don't have that issue, so they really thought that out. You also have an M-Lock attachment. If you want to just disconnect this and have your own M-Lock instead of having their sling, nice little feature there. Moving down here, I'll move the sling out of the way. And I'll show you guys, I'll do another video on how I kind of get my slings to stay like that, because nice to have. Moving down, you see you have your standard elevation adjustment for your sight. Nothing too crazy there. Don't really use irons that often, but you can definitely use them. You just gotta, get down low and dirty. With this rail cover, or top rail, or top cover of the AK, you can pick this up, so you don't need to remove this. Can see there, SLR106F, 556, Bulgaria. This little button here, this is how you release the stock. So it is a collapsible stock. How cool is that? Just nice little thing to have. If you want to fold it out, again, it just locks in place. You just push this little button and it swings out. You do have to kind of give it a good little slap to get it into place, but it is held in the front position, similar to like an AK-74U, or otherwise known as a crank, air quotes, and works fairly well. Never had any issues. Have a standard polymer stock. These are solid. Again, never had any issues with these. Steel butt plate with the little trap door for your cleaning accessories. So you actually push the cleaning accessories go in there, and once you push them in, it pops out, and there you have a little button kind of facilitating that. So don't really use it too much because it's an AK. When do you need to clean it? Am I right? Flipping the gun over here, you can see one thing about this furniture. This is the plum colored furniture, which is more like a brown. Again, I just thought it went with the whole general motif of the rifle, but just standard Magpul MOE. Does have storage compartment down below. It fits your hand nice. Never had any concerns there. I put a Krebs custom safety on here, which I like it for two reasons. One is that when you're trying to manipulate the safety, first, it actually is so smooth on this AK. Like, as far as being able to move it, I mean, trying to take my pinky and just illustrate, it is like smooth as butter moving across, to where some of them will dig into the finish. I never bent any of these. This is just, when it came, it just rolls on this finish perfectly. So with that, I love being able to manipulate the safety relatively easy with your index finger. Standard AK, you can just, reach up, grab it down. But being able to facilitate that just makes it very nice. So, second thing is that some ranges that you go to, you will need to always show clear or lock the bolt to rear. With an AK, it's a bit difficult because you obviously can't do it unless you have the bolt hood open magazines, which these are not as well. Just wanted to add that. But when you lock it back, you can't push that Krebs up there, and boom, now your bolt is locked to the rear. So that's a nice little feature to have. And of course, you can't just release it here. It is a bit difficult, but, well, a little bit more than difficult. You really got to ream on it, but it's best just kind of go like that, because again, I'm not trying to be hard on my guns. Even though, yes, I know they're tools, but it's just how I roll. Looking up, I know we'll get to the trigger here. This is a Fab Defense PDC top cover. Now, with this stock, I could have drilled this, could have put the rail mount on here because it will support this side. That's what this cutout is for. However, I don't like having to take my scope off every time if I want to fold the stock. I like to be able to leave it up top like this. And as far as top covers go, this is one of the better ones. They do have the Ultimac gas tubes. I never really like those just for how far they are away and just how they kind of interfere with my general grip and kind of remove some of the aesthetics for me, because yes, I know function over form, or form over function, or basically it should work before it looks pretty, but in my general schema of things, I like it to look pretty as well because it's my gun. And I chose the PDC because it does return to zero. It is fantastic as far as just mounting to the system, or mounting to the AK, and I just think it looks pretty cool. I'll do a in-depth review on this, but essentially, in short, it has a little tab here that gets spring-loaded on the front. It has a little ratcheting wheel here that basically pulls it down, and then you have your button release. So we'll do that right now. Let me grab my little bit here. Now, one thing about this is it does make it a bit difficult. You do need like the tip of a bullet or something to press the spring out. Yep, there we go. So you can see there that it does have a little bit of a spring catch lip There. Again, guys, this is just kind of my ultimate AK, my review of this gun in particular, but how I've kind of customized it to make it the best of the best of the best. I did upgrade it to the ALG Defense AK Spring. That helped quite a bit as far as smoothing out the action. It made sure that it could kind of get over that get over the hump that just comes in AK triggers. Also, it did smooth out the recoil quite a bit, and for cheap of a spring, sometimes it's really good just to have these, because a lot of AKs are built on surplus parts, so you don't really know when the springs have been maintained. While they will work, still a nice thing to have. Looking down inside, you can see this is not your standard fare AK. Remove the bolt and bolt carrier, standard. I did a previous review on kind of how to smooth out your AK, and this is the gun. But I know I smoothed out the trigger on that one, but I said, you know what? I just really want a trigger. I think the trigger was the only thing I was missing, of course, with the optic, but optic's coming. So you can see here, this is actually the CMC flat AK trigger. Now, there have been some reports of this trigger giving double taps, false strikes, so on and so forth. However, I've probably put about 250, 300 rounds, which I know isn't a lot, through it, but I haven't noticed any improper sear engagement. And as far as the trigger goes, I mean, I love the flat triggers. I love the CMC style. As far as the release, I mean, it's just buttery smooth. And then once it does lock back, you can kind of say there is quite a bit of engagement before it does actually release. So unless that part really gets worn down, I don't really see that becoming an issue. Now, if it does, I trust that CMC will always make it right. But I know this video is getting long here, so I'll be wrapping it up here shortly. Again, if you want to see the individual review on these parts, just check out the channel. I'm kind of going to be going a little bit deeper on each individual one, making its own little separate video. But this is my ultimate AK. Love this thing to death. Again, it is an Arsenal SLR106F. The F is for fun and for folder. And you can see here as I'm trying to put this back together. There we go. The problem is I always forget which way to ratchet it. But you can feel it as you're kind of pulling it, that it gets nice and ratcheted down. So with that, guys, that's kind of my general overview on the SLR106F AK. If you're looking for an AK that is chambered in 5.56, good luck finding them, because these have been discontinued, unfortunately, and they are kind of commanding quite a bit of premium. I believe I paid close to $1,100 back in the day for one. And funny enough, if you stuck around for this long, I'll give you a quick little story here. Bought this AK when I lived in a less excuse me, not Corona. When I lived in a less than free state, and funny enough, you could not buy an AK. However, you could buy an AK if it was in 5.56. You just couldn't buy the 7.62 variety, or you could buy a VZ58, which is kind of, if you're calling this not an AK, boy, you should really be losing your mind over the VZ58. But you could buy those too, but not regular AKs. So kind of a weird story how I fell into it, but then once I fell into it, I fell in love with it. And so that's kind of how we had a match made in heaven. But again, love this AK. It's a fantastic shooter. The accuracy is pretty much on par. Like, I'm able to hit steel at 500 yards easy. Standard 8-inch steel plate. And I've never had any issues with it. This is the gun that I trust my life to, and the one that sleeps by the bedside every night. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider liking, commenting, and or subscribing. If you stuck around for this long, thank you very much. If you have any kind of question, concerns, or anything like that about this AK, feel free to put it down in the comments. And with that, I hope everyone's having a wonderful, awesome, fantastic day. I'll catch you guys next time. See you guys.